So, as a child, what's your youngest and most pressing memory?
That's a bold question to ask in an Ikea food court.
But I think it's important that we get back to the beginning for the opening.
Wait, what?
To think about who we are. I'll tell you mine. My first memory is it was my first birthday party, and I walked into a screen door that closed on my face. It was closing in, and it hit me right in the noggin.
And that's your first memory?
It's my first memory. What jumps out at you?
I remember stuff from kindergarten. Like, I remember that we used to put these rings on our arms, and you'd be more powerful if in kindergarten. Like, I guess in hindsight, they were just quoits rings. But at the time, we'd all put them over our arms, and it was a fight to get the most rings. And we'd all run to, like, the shed where all the equipment was and try and get the most rings. And that's probably 3-year-old kinder. Oh, I have memory. You know, you have memories that you think you remember, but someone's really just told you later in life it happened.
Yes.
Or I've seen a family video. I had a memory where I went to Puffing Billy once as a child, which is the steam train in Belgrave in Melbourne. And I had pebbles in my shoe the entire time. And and I was crying all day, and Mum and Dad couldn't work out why I was crying because I couldn't communicate yet. And at the end of the day, Mum felt awful because she took off my shoes and they were just full of rocks. And
Wait, but now that really happened?
That really happened, but they couldn't figure out why I was crying all day long. They just thought I was being a sook. Like, they thought I hated trains, but it's just because I couldn't walk all day because I had rocks in my shoes. But I didn't have the vocabulary yet to explain my predicament. I look back on that as a traumatic memory, but I think I only remember it because it's been told to me later in life. I have no memory of that, but I know it happened.
Intriguing. Me and my brother, we once climbed a mountain in New Zealand and became lost. And it doesn't figure largely in my memory, but my parents thought we were going to die. And we actually thought we were going to die at the time. We recorded a video on the family camcorder saying goodbye if we died on this New Zealand mountain. And my brother and I are quite happy to leave that in the past and not reflect on it. But, you know, because they have that video and have held on to it, every time a girlfriend would come over to my parents' house or a friend or whatever, they would insist on putting this video on over and over again.
Yeah.
That it was, to me, traumatic. You know, to you, the rock thing, not even important, but reiterated over and over again like a character-defining thing.
Yes. Yes. What was the choice to open with first memory? Is that a common guest question?
Where else should we begin? Where else should we begin here on the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan IKEA special? We're speaking with Luke Kidgell, the most successful. Can we now say, I think of a generation of comedians, you're now the most successful?
No.
Well, financially in Australia, yes.
No. Wait, what do you mean generation? Like, dude, Dave Hughes would be loaded.
Dave Hughes is not in our generation. Dave Hughes belongs to another time.
Tommy
I think our generation should potentially be defined as people who have come to some sort of prominence or done their work at a time after television had the ability to make anyone a star.
Right.
So Tommy Little was there right at the end, right? Tommy Little, right at the end, bam! Yeah. Everybody knows Tommy Little. But even if someone was in Tommy Little's position now, they couldn't make him Tommy Little the way they used to. I think that's a defining transition.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't think it's up to... it's not my place to say where I stand.
Well,
I'm not going to sit here on your beautiful podcast in an IKEA food court and rank Australian comedians financially.
You don't have to. But I think within two parameters, you're an exceptional talent and worth speaking to here on the show today. Within all of the comedians who are respectable and good at doing comedy, that the comedians go, oh, that guy's pretty good at comedy. You are doing the best financially. But then, within all the internet people, you know, whenever comedians are shit-talking internet comedians, which they might not do in front of you, right? Because that might be considered poor form.
I know it happens. And they actually do it in front of me sometimes.
Well, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But people will always say, and whenever someone starts off, I will always say, you know, they go, this guy sucks. They're just internet people. And I'll say, but what about Luke Kidgell? And they'll go, Luke Kidgell is the one who crosses, you know, in this, it's the singular point where the two circles meet of these two worlds of people with some sort of indie comedy club credibility and then also people who can actually make a living doing comedy. I mean, that's a very unusual position to be in, and a lot of people must really hate you for it.
I'm not sure. I hope that's not the case, but potentially. I think there's a few others. Like, I think Neil Kohaka has...
I'm being unkind.
Almost...
I'm being unkind. Of course, Neil.
Yeah, I think there's a few others, because Neil Kohaka has also done mainstream stuff and online stuff, and he's been on, like, the Sydney Gala and whatnot. You know, there's a few people that have transcended what I've done even. So I appreciate you're very kind.
The fact that you've come up with one name, I think, drives home the rarity of this situation. Because we could also say there are a great number of excellent comedians. I'm not even saying talent. I'm saying, people who decide to go out to the clubs night after night after night. This is a rarity. This is an unusual thing.
Lewis does it, who I did a podcast with for many years. Lewis Spears, he gigs. Look, man, I could sit here and...
podcast to become and look at my friends, and they're all excellent.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they're great, but I think you're in a fairly... People seem to favour one or the other.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Now,
I'm not even saying it's a good thing. I mean, the work ethic, it means you must be driven by some preternatural unpleasantness.
You're like, can you stop taking things I say as a compliment?
Yeah, I didn't mean it like, well done, congratulations. It's like, what is this coming at the expense of? Where in your personal life are you being hollowed out? Like, for one thing, you're in this... Now, we will concede that this is an unusual position. Your girlfriend works with you creatively and professionally.
Yes.
And I assume intimately. Now, that must be a very close relationship.
Yeah, especially the intimate one. That's the side. That part of it is extremely close. Thank goodness for that. We don't have a HR department at our workplace for that reason, because that would be bad news if we did. Actually, I think she is head of HR, but she allows it, so that's fine.
She's been doing some serial abusing and not reporting it upstairs.
Yeah, it's true, actually. No, it's cool working with her. I mean, it kind of just happened naturally. During COVID, she worked in she was a remedial masseuse, and then obviously that all shut down, and then she started doing some bits and pieces for me. Kind of enjoyed it, and then just never went back. And she also had some health problems that didn't permit her to be on her feet all day. She has a heart condition. She has POTS and a bunch of other health issues, so it kind of just works.
This is not even to mention the eye condition that has struck her down today.
No, that was just a bad... she went to a dodgy lash bar, and she is now taking steroids because they chemically burned her eyes. No, but she does have an actual chronic illness, but other than her current temporary eye hindrance. Should we explain to your listeners? So if it sounds like I can't hear James properly, that's because that is the case. I think we don't mention what's happening and we don't try and explain it. I think the best ideas come on some sort of subconscious level. And why? See, and here's... No, as long as people just know that there's literally can hear every second word you're saying. So, you can... Oh, I'll slow it down. It's the AirPods. They don't actually work as a communication device. No. Would you like me to bring my phone up to my ear as well? That might be a clearer way of doing it. I'll join you on your terms. There are few people are staring, but no one has the... I guess... It's so wild what you can get away with. I don't know. I won't be able to hear you for a moment. Now, how's that? Is that any better? Is that better there? All right. But let me ask you this. Yeah. Now, you might want to lift that screen back up so people can see my beautiful face. You have this... now, a lot of... You basically have a road dog lifestyle. I mean, you're touring how many days a year? I don't know. You've got 4 shows in Adelaide at the moment. Are we still on? We're still on. 4 shows in Adelaide over 2 days, which is a lot by anybody's book, And the fact that you're travelling together with your partner... that your brother, I think, is taking care of how much I get paid for the opening spots, which I appreciate. There's a family element to all of this. Yeah, and my mum works for me as well. She fulfills the merch. I was unaware of this. Is this true? No, this is 100% true. And what is funny, we have about 8 people working for us now. 4 of them, one of them is my best friend from high school. Yes. It's a real family affair. And Dad has just retired. He was a primary school teacher, and there is big chat of hiring him as security just to get 100% the immediate family in the business. And what's funny is everyone gets to invite their partners to our Christmas party. And because my mum works for me, it means my dad is now at the Christmas party too.
This is again. I like whenever unusual things happen in pairs. I like to wonder if they dovetail. That you have this community-mindedness, and that also you're competing in all these fields creatively, professionally, top of the game. I mean, your personal relationships seem to be in sync. There's a lot of people, like a lot of comedians, who would do one thing, right? Would sit in their room and bang out the computer all day. Or would just go to stage after stage after stage, getting the comedy right and tight, but basically as an excuse to have sex, meaningless sex with many women in many different cities. Or many men, some of the gay comedians, some of the woman comedians, fine. But that really can't be your motivation, because you have your girlfriend up the back of the room making a videotape of you, and possibly mum in the corner doing the merch, and dad working the security. I mean,
what is that? You asked me what is the motivation?
Well, I'm saying, not what is the motivation. I want to get to the motivation. We'll come back to the childhood memory. But I want to say, do you think these things work in synthesis? That these are non-tortured personal relationships that might allow you to achieve at a very high level?
I think so, because I think I've been with other management and stuff before, and it was fine, and it just didn't work out or whatever. And I now prefer it because ultimately the reason why I did my brother, I know some people say you shouldn't work with family, and it may, by the way, this is early stages. We record another episode in perhaps like a McDonald's food court or something like that in a few years. I might not speak to any of my family
big
members.
Bucks at that point. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, this is early days. People say it's like, but a lot of people warn me, like, shouldn't go in business with your family. But we've always been a pretty close family. And even if it doesn't work out, I don't think we'll all cut off ties. But I just trust my brother in the sense that, like, he has all my best interests at heart. Not only for, like, himself, because obviously he takes a cut, but also, like, he doesn't want to see me homeless and fail. Like,
well, he wants to see you come up. And his suffering is your suffering. He doesn't want to be responsible for his brother's suffering. I mean, sometimes I think of that Elvis movie, where Elvis's daddy doesn't look out for Elvis.
Yeah.
Elvis, you got to go back to Vegas. You got to do it again. I'm sorry.
We did start calling him the Snowman for about 2 months after the film came out. I'm not going to lie. Like, whenever there was one where we're already doing, for merch, we're doing stubby coolers, we're doing T-shirts, caps, jumpers, posters, you name it. And then my brother goes, what about coasters? And we were like, Snowman strikes again. And can I tell you, the coasters were not a hit. Because we were selling stickers, and then some people saw round stickers on the table and said,
and they thought the coasters were stickers.
Well, they said, hey, are these coasters? And then they were like, no, they're actually stickers. And they mistook people's curiosity as demand. And there was no demand. There was people just curious to see what we were selling. And then Jack's like, dude.
Wait, are you saying that the idea came out of him just there being something circular on the table? And people wondering what it was, and he's gone, people
kept asking
hunger for
if
coasters.
They were coasters. And then Jack was like, dude, people kept asking for coasters. I'm like, no, they were asking about coasters. They were clarifying what the round object was.
I don't think anyone does do merch, coaster
I signed
merch.
some last night after the show, and because we don't sell them very often. So then when someone does buy them, I always go, oh yeah, we have coasters.
You get... Well, they'd be easy to travel with, and these are reusable coasters, right? Not like
I don't think we'll be doing coasters again next year. We're going to stick to stubby coolers. They are a popular item. The stubby coolers hit in regional Queensland.
People are more excited to have something they can carry around with their beer rather than what they leave their beer on.
Exactly.
There's something about it. But do you see, just to return to my point, and I think it's a very important, so I just lean around this way. I'll lean over this way. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I just mean that's two unique things in the business about you and the way you're conducting yourself. And if I may say a third thing, the ease with which you carry yourself. We were talking yesterday about, I was speaking mostly about Kanye and his Adolf Hitler obsession.
Yeah, I don't go on Twitter that much.
You're off the discourse.
Yeah.
You're not living in the... And there's a real negativity and an unseemliness to the online culture and discussion.
When you're pretty much a traveling coaster salesman, the day it's away, you don't really have time to... Like, I always know the base level thing. I'm like, oh yeah, Kanye has said some anti-Semitic comments, and I might see one or two examples online, and I know enough that if I have to engage in a discussion about it, I'm not going to be like, yeah, Kanye's crushing it right now. I always just stay across things enough where I'm like, I'm not going to feel left out in a social circumstance. But I also, in a way, I think it's wrong these days to say I do not care really about... It's very selfish about other things.
Is all your care and attention on the self and on the coasters and on the family?
Friends.
Where is the
friends
care?
And friends and family and myself, and that's quite insular. And I know that's a somewhat problem.
Well, you're also, I mean, for many people in the comedy scene, you'll be dispirited. You know, the old Morrissey song, "We hate it when our friends become successful." You know, someone gets the gala, someone does it, someone's up, someone's down.
Right.
But you really move with a clique. Your business structure is much more like a black rapper mentality of where we go one, we go all. We're all here together. We all roll. I got my crew. I got my man. I'm helping him make his TikTok videos.
Yeah.
Go Robert Irwin in a brothel. Do it, man. Make it happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, kind of. I mean, Blake was just a good fit for opening. But you're right. Now we're doing his tour next year with our business.
You're running his tour.
My brother is, not me. I did this thing. It makes me feel uncomfortable getting involved with other comedians because I don't want to take their money. I don't care. I want him to do well. But then he's like, I want a tour. And we're like, oh, who's doing it? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. And he's like, should I just email venues? And we're like, oh my God. And then
we need to get you a tour manager.
Sure, but
listen, my brother's going to talk to you about coasters.
Yeah.
And you need to tell him no.
Dude, that was literally day one. I was like, look, the snowman will strike again, but do not let him strike while the iron's cold. Because the coaster market is not good.
He's got a lot of cold irons in the refrigerator. Are we being moved on?
No,
Hello.
no. I think they want to join the podcast.
Oh, we're just having a chat. Did you want to join in?
These were the people who were laying in the Ikea bed before.
Do you want to come? Oh, were you in the bed before?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Grab a chair, come on over, and do you want to go over to Luke? And we'll just have a quick chat now. And
you're great.
Now
we're just on a podcast.
Do you want to talk to each other?
In the Ikea food court.
Here you go. Here we're just talking.
It's somewhat amusing. We're surprised that no one's moved us on. Hi. So, what was your name? And
hi, it's Sammy over here.
Sammy and Natalia.
Sammy. Yeah.
What a pleasure. And what brings you to IKEA today?
An apple and some festive chocolate.
An apple and some festive chocolate.
Yeah.
This is what we'll discuss in the car. It's not the furniture that brings people to IKEA. It's the general vibe.
It was the meatballs, but they're a bit expensive, so I can't afford them.
We actually came for the quilt covers and the beds.
You hung up on me.
There's been a difficulty in the podcast. Will now continue in two islands together. Hold on. Oh, I got a text. Oh, it's Luke calling back again.
Sorry,
Hello,
I
Luke.
accidentally hung up the phone call.
Can I talk to the person you've got over there as well?
Hey.
Hello, what's your name? Oh, was that too late? I'm sorry. Talia? Talia, what are you up to today in IKEA?
Look, honestly, we're driving past. There was not much to do anywhere else but IKEA.
Well, it was such a hot day. You know, we were going to record this in the Parklands, but I said, I think an IKEA food court's the only place I want to go. Do you know what I was very disgusted with?
What?
Was the absence of the big cans of apple and pear drink that they used to have here. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No, now I want to know. I'm going
to
have to
Google
that.
They used to have like 600 ml cans of a carbonated apple drink. It was, except
I know exactly what you're talking about. I do.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
They've stopped it. They don't do it anymore.
Have you asked them why?
You know, at the moment, I'm trying to have as few interactions with the staff at IKEA as possible because I think what I'm doing is probably not on. Now, do you want to talk to your friend for a moment on the podcast?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. How you going with your apple?
Yeah, I'm halfway through, but I was scared that they could hear me crunch, so I didn't do it.
All right, well.
This is really cool. All right.
Cool.
Love being normal.
All right, love you. I'll see you soon, all right?
Okay, love you too.
It's been a
Thanks so much for
pleasure
joining
having
us.
you both on the
What
show.
a pleasure.
Hope you have a wonderful day.
Man, that was
it's
a lot
called
of
the
fun.
James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan. You know what? If you got a phone, I'll bang it on the phone. It is on Spotify.
Wonderful.
Yep.
There is truly nothing that is more like shameless than a man plugging his podcast in an
that's
IKEA
all right.
food
We'll
court.
do it.
And it's the podcast that he's currently recording. Mid-record, writing down the name of the pod in their phone.
We're good.
Well, I'll dismiss that. May I follow? I'll give you a follow. I'll give me a follow. Hey, I'm on Instagram. His name's Luke. I'm James, and we're just... So, Luke, What do you think is the prime motivator in your... Thank you so much for coming on. God bless you. Have a good one. Would you say that the desire to go forward and dominate, will to power, is what's motivating you at this point? What makes you happy about doing these things?
It's so much fun. Like, last night was so much fun, don't you reckon?
Wasn't it just?
Like, that room, like, I was saying this to Meg, and I don't want this to sound like it's, I don't know, look, it was so much fun. Like we've been doing quite big venues this year on this tour, and that was probably the most fun I've had all year, and a tiny little room 2 floors up in Adelaide.
Wasn't it just?
It was just like, there's something about it. I don't know. I like doing jokes. Is that weird?
No, I think it's beautiful. I think it happens all too seldom in the business. And you know, one of the reasons I'm happy to have you on is that each of these levels, you know, the personal, the professional, and also your attitude about it, you seem to carry yourself with the ease of one in another circumstance would be a holy man. And it's very strange, and it's very humbling, and it's a lot for me to reflect on. Because I think of myself as a very small, bitter person, you know, and so rarely do I come up. I may not project, but this is what haunts me. We're all haunted by an image of ourselves. We're all alienated by someone who we think we may be and who we wish to escape from. I think of Ursula Le Guin's seminal classic, The Wizard of Earthsea. I don't know if you've read Ursula Le Guin's The Wizard of Earthsea.
No, I have not. I'm not an avid reader.
Sick. Now that's an interesting... You don't read.
I say in my show that I read, but I guess I go on to kind of prove that I don't really, because at one point I do suggest that I'm more of a Captain Underpants man than an avid reader.
That got a big laugh from Dexter in the front row last night.
That was a 13-year-old boy, and it really got him back on board. Finally...
Have there been... No, has any book ever resonated with you in a profound way?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big biography man more so these days. Like, I'm a bit of a sucker. Again, I really like comedy, so I read books from comedians. Like, I read Adam Hills's book. I really enjoyed that. I read Kevin Hart's book. I got halfway through. I didn't finish it. Shane Jacobson's A Road to Overnight Success.
I remember the cover well.
A great book. But yeah, I'm more of like, I read about people, but then growing up, you know, a staunch Harry Potter man, the basics. We're talking Too Cool. I don't know if you remember that franchise. The Alex Rider series, Teenage Spy.
I very much enjoyed the Alex Rider series.
Teenage Spy, Skullduggery Pleasant. We're talking teen classics here. That was more because my mum used to work in a bookshop, so I used to get quite an, like, you know, I just get gifted books every year for Christmas. But then by the end, it's one of those things where if it's around you too much... Were you off by
Twilight, or was Twilight big enough that you were caught up into the Twilight world?
No, that was definitely more female-orientated. Particularly when I was in high school, you wouldn't be caught dead in Year 9 reading about Edward Cullen and the lads.
No, yes, I'm thinking about how... I'm a little bit older than you, and so it was... The movies hadn't come out yet, and it was a cultural phenomenon.
Yes.
And it was... You knew it was mostly for girls, but you could rip through it in an afternoon. It's not a challenging read.
No.
But also then something like The Hunger Games would have been too late for you as a teen.
I think I did... I just watched the movies, but I think I read the first book or something, and I was like... And then because I'd already seen the movies, I think I was like, oh, this bothers me. If you read it in reverse order, it then bothers you that the book is not like the movies, because that's the way you know it. But it's the same thing when they make movie adaptations of books. All the nerds go, it's nothing like the book. But I'm usually a movie man, so I'm like, the book's nothing like the film.
Why doesn't the book say that Katniss is so hot?
Yeah.
Katniss is meant to be more hot.
Isn't she supposed to be like 14?
I don't know. I just think Jennifer Lawrence is a beautiful woman.
She is, yes.
Yeah.
But
I was doing an impression of you. I want you to know that wasn't my thought. I was putting in that voice to go, I'm Luke Kidgell, noted young paedophile. Right. I want you to know that was the bit.
I would appreciate, particularly when we're in an Ikea
food
court,
what about a little Balenciaga?
If you didn't personify me as an outward pedophile.
No, you make a fair point and a good point and a kind point. Look, I think for episode 1 of this podcast, which maybe it's a new show, maybe it's the old show, I don't know. I'll slap it on YouTube. But I think they've let us get away with this for a long time.
Yep.
And we should definitely move.
Do you reckon we should move? I was just getting comfortable, but we can. I reckon we could maybe move to a new location and finish this interview off.
Where do you want to go? Where do you think is the next funniest place?
I mean, I didn't mind your idea of just do it right outside the Ikea. Because it's a nice day out there.
All right, if we can find a spot in the shade, let's do it out there. Otherwise, we'll go to a park. All right, let's do it. All right.